So there's what I've done. I've moved the nose up a little bit, taken off a fair bit of material on the bottom. Restore your center line, put it back on. So the next most important thing is we've established where the nose is going to sit with respect to the face. And in my case, I moved it up so it's just about level with the bottom of the ear. Now I got to decide on what width of nose do I want. If he's going to have this kind of a perky nose that he's got here, this nose here is not very wide. I like to leave a little bit extra material because I can always thin it down. So establish the width of the nose by marking off from the center line the width that you want to make the nose from across. So make this distance the same as that distance there. And I like to mark it underneath as well. Then we're just going to take a V-tool and we're going to come up both sides of that nose to establish it. I'll go ahead and do that. So as you can see, I've got his nose fairly narrow. I want to give him kind of a pooky nose, and I'm eventually going to narrow down the side of his face. Okay, so there he is with his nose sticking out. Your nose sticks out of the face. Once you get that anchored, then everything else kind of falls into place. So create a flat spot on the bottom of the nose. So this section here is going to stay flat, and then draw a line straight across, and then that allows you to remove this triangle and this triangle. And I do that with a knife. Straight down cuts. Just like that. Okay. The next step is to round over the face, and I'm going to start giving that some shape. I'll illustrate a bit on the board here. So now I'm going to use my knife to round over the edges, and this guy has his hat to the back, so forget about the hat itself. We're just going for shape here. We're going to round all that all over. And I'll go ahead and do that. I'll use a knife on that or a gouge. So his smile line, which starts at the top of the wing once again and comes down on both sides. Oh, sorry. There we go. Sorry. So it starts at the top of the wing and comes down, and this guy here does not have a very happy face. I'm going to put a little bit of curvature on so that creates a smile line. And the best part about having a pencil, you can see that one's a little bit wider than the other, so you can adjust that and move that over or bring the other one in, as the case may be. And I just use a V-tool to come down and create that. So I would stick the V-tool in. Can you still see that? Yes. Okay, so I would stick the V-tool in, bring it out, and then turn the V-tool and come down that line. So that creates the smile line right here. Okay? I'll do the other side and then pass it around. Okay, so the next trick is we want to round over this mouth mound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stop cut in under his nose like that, and start with one coming down there just a little bit. So I'm going to be able to remove, you still see that? Remove that chip there. I want to be able to get right into the nose. Can you see that I've Now I'm really rounding it and creating that. Remember I said half the nose is outside the face, half is inside the face, so we're creating that half inside. And now I'm going to work this material here to make it all nice and round in this area here. We're at a stage now where we got to kind of determine where we're going to put his eyes. He's got kind of sad looking eyes, but again the photograph in this view makes him look as if his nose is way up high and so on, whereas in the other views he really isn't. But anyway, enough. We want to eventually create a profile, but in order to establish, we had to establish the nose first, and now I'm going to try and establish where I would visualize the brow to be, and then that would be the top of his eye would be there, and his eye would actually sit just below the brow. So kind of visualize that. You could draw it on if it's helpful to draw on an eye, then draw on an eye. But what we're after is that little bridge, and so I'm going to arbitrarily say that that's where I want it to be, and I'm going to just put a V notch through there, so that then that establishes where the profile is going to be for his nose. Now his nose is not as deep as what I would like to make it myself, so I'm going to deepen that somewhat so that I can create a better shape for a nose.
Is that what you're doing there at the top of the ear?
The ear can be adjusted. We have an ear block, and the ear can be shortened, or we can't lengthen it obviously, but there's a big amount of material here to play with. I purposely did that in the rough out so that you've got the flexibility on the ear. The ear is window dressing. Facial expression basically is eyes, nose, and mouth, and so the ears just become window dressing at some point. So if you take a look at the profile there, or looking at it maybe better, oops, tilt it there, that way. Now you can see where the nose is with respect to the top of the nose with respect to where the eyes are going to be eventually. Alright, so we'll leave it at that for now, and if you guys can just establish that, that'd be great. So the hollow in here, there's a hollow in here, so it's a concave then convex, concave then convex, and so he's got a bulbous cheek but a significant hollow in here. So when we go to take that back in, you just got to remember to leave enough material for the sideburn. Okay, and I'm going to use a gouge to take that back in, and so pick out a gouge with a pretty good sweep in it, like that, and then just can you see that? There you go. So I'm going to leave his hair, his sideburns, but I'm going to start to hollow that out. Can you see that there? So I'm going to do that on the other side, but leave this bulbous here. Alright? Okay, let's talk about this. Even though we work down here in the mouth bound, we're still working on the nose. The nose anchors the face. I keep saying that, but it's so true. So now I want to establish how wide of a bridge in his nose I want to maintain. And that becomes a personal preference for you. So I'm going to establish how wide I want to have that be. So I'm going to put 2 marks in there. and that's going to be the bridge in his nose. So that means that eventually I'm going to have to take off all this material in here in order to create the side of his nose. So very quickly you can join those two lines together. I'll use a slight curve to create them. And then the top, his eye mount is going to come in here on the side. And if you take a look at how his eyes are here, his eyes are sad. So if you want to create a sad look, see that the outside of the eye is lower. So create the brow lower as well. So that emphasizes the shape of the eye by dropping the outside of the brow down. Then when we remove this material in here, create that shape by dropping the outside of the brow down, okay, in there on both sides. Give you the right idea, I hope. So once you get that, then pick out a gouge that's going to work in there, and I'm going to try this new Denny. It's a number 11, and it looks like about, I don't know, about that wide, whatever wide that is. So how I do that is I first of all put a stop cut in there. Alright, the stop cut then prevents the side of the nose from being removed when I get into that hollow. So I can, yeah, I'm not going to use this very long. Anyway, so that starts to establish the side of the nose by putting a stop cut in there by just jamming the gouge in. Alright, I'll go ahead and set up at least one side, maybe both sides. Okay, so there it is with the two eye mounds in there, and you'll notice that I've rounded over the outside here a little bit, just turned the edge a little bit on the outside. Now I'm going to take a, what's this, a number 5, number 3, a 12 millimeter, and going to smooth off the cheek on both sides. So just turn it upside down, and again, I like all nice smooth flat surfaces in order to eventually put wrinkles in or whatever. So you can see how that gives it that nice shape by just using that gouge upside down. You can come at whatever angles you want as long as it's upside down. It creates the natural curve. So we're going to create a square on the top of his nose to create that ball that's on our noses. And so I'm going to take a little bit of material off, like that. And like that. So that when you look up the nose, can you see what I mean by having a flat spot and then the tents come down on both sides? Looking at it in profile, more like that there. So I've got it flattened just on the bottom. Don't do it on the top. Okay. Alright, so now I'm taking, as you can see, I've taken away the pencil mark in the middle of the nose, and I'm going to take away the center line here as well. Use my steel eraser. Maybe that'll help you visualize it a little bit better. So he's got a fairly good schnoz there now. Now I'm going to take a number 7 6 millimeter, so it's got a fair good curve to it, and I'm going to start addressing the part above the wing of the nose. So the wing of the nose is about where the flat spot is on the top of the nose. That's where it starts, but it's on the side. So by taking a little bit of material out of there, you're going to create that shape on the side of the nose. Can you see that? Maybe, can I get in a little bit tighter, I wonder? I don't know whether that shows up any better or not. So just by coming in here and scooping out just above, so that you can see how that creates the wing of the nose. Another way of doing that would be to jab in a gouge on the side of the nose, and that creates the same effect just by taking that little piece out of there. So you can do it one or the other or both ways. I've also seen it done with a V-tool. You could put a V-tool in the top there and just create a little bit of a cut in there, and that does kind of the same idea. Okay. I'll set up the other side. As a conclusion sort of thing, we've got all the basic elements of the facial features established. We've got the mouth mound. We've established where the cheeks are going to end up by creating this smile line in here on both sides. The nose has got a flat spot, but all that has to be is rounded. If you want to have the nose hang, then you undercut underneath the nose in there. If you want to give them kind of a pooky nose, well, then you flatten out the front a little bit. If you want to give them a bowed nose, this guy's got kind of a bowed nose, you can do that. But if you want to give him an older look where he's had his nose busted, then you just simply come up and you remove a scoop in front of where the bust mark is, and that bust mark is where is typically where the skull and the nose joins, because all our nose is all gristle. So they call it a broken nose when there's no bone in there to break, it's just gristle. Alright, and then we've got these eyes established as to where they're going to be roughly sitting. Now they can be adjusted later on. The things that we haven't done, as I mentioned, we haven't rounded off and smoothed everything here on the nose, and we haven't given them nostrils to breathe yet. And that's very simple. But I like to get the mouth established. So next week what we'll do is we'll work on the mouth and the eyes and try and get these facial features established. Again, the ears are just window dressing, so we can adjust them later on. But this part of the face right there is the critical part. Okay, once we get that established, that's the entire facial expression. Okay, so to establish the nostrils, pick a gouge that's fairly small because the nose is not very big. This one happens to be a number, get it in here, a number 7, 3 millimeter, and so the trick here is to kind of make them both the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay away from that. Remember that center spot is flat, and we're going to leave that center spot flat. And don't come right up to the top, but kind of come underneath that. So we got a little bit of an overhang. So just jab it in like that, give it a bit of a twist, and you've got a bit of a snotty there, but that's all it is right there, just that much. So once you get one side established, then try and make the other side match. So we've got 2 sections. Then just take a knife to pop out that little snotty in there. And there it is. He's got nostrils. Just that simple. If you want to make them deeper, you can make them deeper. It's kind of your call. So there's kind of the finished product with the nose, the nostril established. Just need to round off the edges, that's all now.